I'm now in my second year as Chief Scientist for South Australia, and since the awards last year, the Premier's Science and Research Council has been revised and renamed, and now the Premier's Science and Industry Council. As the name indicates, the membership's been adjusted to include more people from industry backgrounds, and there's an increased focus on issues relating to enhancing outcomes from our research capabilities and investments, and particularly how the science community might help industry improve productivity and competitive advantage. There are now 3 working groups of Council, and much of the activity around progressing the Council's new strategies is being pursued through these 3 groups. The Industry Working Group is being chaired by Kim Scott of BAE Systems Australia, and this group is dealing with the development of improved mechanisms for strengthening the links between industry and the research community. A small committee of early career researchers chaired by the 2011 young tall poppy Dr. Craig Priest of UniSA is meeting separately and feeding its views to Kim Scott's team. Their youthful enthusiasm and imaginations added greatly to this important area of work, and we're very grateful to Craig for the work that he's putting in there. A second working group is being chaired by Dr. Leanna Reid. Her team is working on the development of a new forward vision and strategy for South Australia in science, technology and innovation to replace the existing STI 10 vision and strategy that has been in place since 2004. A green paper will be available in the near future that will facilitate a broad stakeholder consultation that I believe is vital as a part of the process leading ultimately to a set of recommendations from the Council to the Government. The third working group is chaired by Professor Lynn Kobiak of CSIRO, and this group is addressing a range of issues relating to the improvement of Council's contribution to the development of science, research and innovation in South Australia. How can we better support the state's key strategies? How can we better support our brightest and best people in their professional development? How can we improve their chances of success? How can we optimise our involvement in federal government programs that are particularly important to South Australia? The Council also needs to become more active in communicating its views and advice to government and to the community. I'm still a bit cold, having stood out there by the front door for a while. You will be pleased to know that there will be a round of investments from the Premier's Science and Industry Fund this year, beginning very soon. These investments will be directed towards fellowships at both professorial and early career researcher levels, as well as facilitating collaboration through avenues like the CRC program and in other ways. Enhancing our international alliances will also be a feature of the investments this year. You may be interested to hear that almost $30 million has been invested through the Premier's Science and Research Fund over the past 8 years, resulting in over $100 million injected into the South Australian economy with the inclusion of resources from partners in industry and the research institutions. The value to South Australia, of course, is much greater than this direct leverage. I haven't time tonight to go through this in any detail, but we'll just mention one example. The Australian Centre for Visual Technologies, led by Professor Anton van den Hengel at the University of Adelaide. Not so many years ago, this centre began as a small team of about 4 people when they won their first PSRF grant, which Anton readily credits for giving them the kickstart they needed to get them on their way. There are now over 40 staff in that centre, and they're recognised as Australia's leading group in their field, with a large number of Australian and global clients seeking their services. Apart from the direct economic benefits of Anton's centre, a substantial number of young people are being trained in this rapidly developing and important field. You'll get a feel for a similar success story when the 2011 Scientist of the Year, Professor Peter Langridge, speaks to you later. The Australian Centre for Plant Functional Genomics has benefited from substantial South Australian government investment, and Peter's group has been returning great value to our agricultural industry in particular from that investment, and I'm sure that it will continue to do so for many years to come. Of course, tonight is all about celebrating the achievements of some of our best scientists. Unfortunately, there are many in our community who don't know about or appreciate the important contribution that science and science-related professions make to South Australia and the international community more broadly. In fact, the level of acknowledgement of the relevance and value of science to our daily lives is frighteningly low. I have a feeling that we might hear a bit more about that from Ian Chubb shortly. This is a good time to reflect on the wonderful contributions being made by our scientists here in South Australia. We're still in Science Week, and these awards are part of the Science Week activities in this state. In addition, we've recently seen a remarkable landing of Curiosity on Mars by the US space team, followed closely behind by the Olympic Games, two quite different events. Scientific advances are obviously at the core of the space mission, but science is also a key contributor to the Olympic Games. As science-aware people, we here would appreciate to some extent how science will have made substantial contributions to the improvement of athletes' performances. And I'm not really just thinking about any illegal chemistry enhancements there. It's interesting to consider the relative level of attention the media and the community have given to the Mars landing and to the Games. I wonder which of the two events is considered to be the most inspiring and which is likely to have the most lasting impact in the longer term. We will all have our own thoughts and views on these sorts of issues, but I can't help thinking about the people we are to showcase tonight. Not just the winners of the various categories, but all the finalists who have been making outstanding contributions to our state and the broader community. Wouldn't it be excellent to see these people recognised and celebrated in our public areas, in airport lounges, shopping centres, in magazines, etc., just as much as our sporting heroes are featured at the moment? Maybe if we could achieve this sort of exposure, then an increasing number of our children would see that scientists are not necessarily all nerds, but they are real, normal people with a wide range of interests and talents. They have chosen challenging, interesting and fulfilling careers that are in most cases fundamentally important to our prosperity and well-being. Last year I made the observation that if we had announced any one of the top 7 nominees for Scientist of the Year as the winner, then most in the audience would have acknowledged that that person was a worthy selection. This year I think that comment can be made about the first 9 nominations in that particular category. And although it's great to applaud a winner, we should also recognise that there are many others that are going to go relatively unheralded, at least tonight. We had a particularly strong field of nominations in most categories this year, and I believe this says something very positive about the strength and depth and quality of the science community in this state. These are people in whom we can indeed be very proud. I congratulate all the finalists, and I hope everyone here enjoys these celebrations.